So when you're doing a data migration, they can be vast projects, right, over a long period of time. So what methods do you employ to track the progress and the status of a migration project?
All right, so we have a few things here. So first of all, as part of the DM planning, we would identify the scope. So the scope for us it's two-dimensional in effect. It's the number of objects that are included that we need to include from that particular target. So that's that's like the depth, if you like. The breadth of it is how much data are we actually including. So how many fields do we need out of that data? And how many records as well. So you could also almost say it's like a three-dimensional cube. So once we've determined that, we can actually use our workflow tool, our workflow-matic tool, and we actually put all the objects in. So there's been other videos and things explaining this, but basically we list down all the objects. They all go through a 15-step process. So they all start at step 1, and they move through. For step 1 is strategies, so we talk about each individual object and the strategy for moving that data, and then we go into step 2. The customer confirms that they're happy with that, and then we move into selections and mappings and coding. So as we're going through the status of each one of those objects, and they will move at different times, we're not doing all of them at the same time, especially with some of these really big migrations, could have hundreds of objects. So they're all traversing through generally, at different times. Now, there will be a sequence to that as well, of course, which we've got to respect. We generally go in the sequence with which we load this data. That's generally the sequence that we go, because we want to start test loading it as soon as we can. So we start with the primary master data coming through. So that's a really, really good way of being able to monitor the progress of the migration. And so that's one major aspect. We actually put that into a weekly report alongside the typical data quality checks as well, so we can see a percentage for each of the objects of how much of it's getting through. I've got 10,000 customer records, 9,000 are making it through, so I've got 90%. Right, so it's a 90%. All right, you don't want to lose 1,000. We're going to work on that over the next few months, but at least I can see where it is. We even graph that over time, so we can see over time what the data quality is looking like. And again, that goes into the weekly reports as well. The weekly reports get presented to a customer and to any partners and vendors that we're working with, and then we generally have a weekly meeting on it as well. There is another aspect as well, which is obviously around budgets and things like this. We track all that in our DM trackers as well. So every single task and everything, it's all typical project management stuff. And we're tracking the burn against the actual completion rates, which is really good as well. So over time, you want to know, am I going to hit that deadline for that trial? Am I going to be ready for that UAT? Am I going to be ready for the go live? So I've got deadlines that I'm having to meet. I want to know if I'm going to hit it in time. So we track that via our burn charts as well. So all of that generally gets put into the weekly reports, and then it's looked at as a group every week.
Yeah. So the WOM is it's a visual representation of the different stages that each object in the project are at any one time.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So every single object for that particular project is a 1 to 15 step process. So once it gets to 15, brilliant, it's completed, everything's been checked, it's all loaded, it's all validated, brilliant, it's in effect complete as far as we're concerned. Everything needs to be at step 15 before you go live, because if it's not, well, why are we going live in the first place? So the goal for the whole team, and I'm not just talking about our team, I'm talking about the whole project team. The goal is to get those data objects down to 15. And we tried to get it there. If we can get it down to there before the final trial migration, fantastic, because you get to really test a complete set. Sometimes the final trials are used just to finalize the last bits of validation. So that's the process, and it's very much a visual representation. We know when the objects will last change status. We know we'll change them. It's a full audit trail as well. so we can check all that. And you can sort and search within one as well, so you can see what's changed by, you know, descending order by date, so you can see what's been changed over the last week or two. So you very much get a feel for how project's moving. It's very, it's an easy way of doing it, and it's quick.